Now we're going to make the goldfish, and the first thing we need to do is separate 6 eggs, and I'm using large eggs. We've always used large. And when you separate the egg, you want to make sure that when you start, now I'm going to do this one-handed, you put the white in here, and then you put the yolk in this bowl, and we're going to put all 6 yolks in this bowl, but ultimately, every time you separate an egg, you're going to put the white in another bowl. That way, if you screw up the separation process, you don't dilute the rest of the egg whites that you've already done. And I can't do this one-handed, so I'm going to turn this off. So that's one. We've done that successfully. So now we're going to transfer that to the actual bowl that we're going to use tomorrow to make the meringue. And I'm going to complete the other 5 eggs. Before I start adding the butter and the egg yolks, I put 1 teaspoon of, about a half a teaspoon of salt in the food processor with the flour, and I'm going to combine that. So I'm just going to pulse it a little bit. That should be good enough. Now I'm going to start adding the butter, which I've cut into chunks that are about the size of 1 tablespoon, and I'm going to add that a little bit at a time, and I'm going to simultaneously add egg yolks. So here we go. So now I have the meringue the egg whites for the meringue in one bowl, and the egg whites for the dough in the other bowl, and I'm going to put saran wrap on the egg white bowl and save it for tomorrow. So I finished adding the yolks and the butter, and I'm going to mix and see how it forms into a ball. And then I'm going to add a little bit of milk. So here's what the dough looks like after you've added a little bit of milk, and I think I added maybe a tablespoon or so, but not much. And the dough looks quite a bit different from the sugar cookie dough. But that looks pretty good. So now I'm going to add just a tad more milk now that I've moved this around, and process just for a few more seconds, and then we'll be good, ready to roll it into little balls. So now you take the dough and you remove it from the food processor and put it in another bowl, and then you're going to take little pinches of dough off of it and roll them into balls about the size of a walnut. And you should get about 60. And here's how that looks in my hand. So that's about the size. It might be a little bit bigger than the other one, so then I just take a little pinch off and put it back and re-roll that a little bit. So I do have, and I think I said 60, but it's 50. And I got exactly 50. So that's what they look like. And, like I said, they're about the size of a walnut, maybe a little smaller, but that's about this size. And I'm going to go ahead and measure the dimension so I can get. So they are actually about 1-inch little balls. So you should have no trouble making those. Now I'm going to cover them with saran wrap, and I'm going to put them in the refrigerator overnight, and they need to be refrigerated for at least 24 hours. So we'll be making them tomorrow. Okay, so today we're actually going to make the goldfish. The dough's been in the refrigerator overnight, and it's still in the refrigerator because you want to keep the 1-inch balls, the dough balls, cold at all times. And the first thing we're going to do is beat the egg whites stiffly. So I'm going to do that now. So as you can see, I just have the mixer on high speed, and I'm beating the egg yolks. I'm going to do this until they get stiff, and that'll probably take about 3 to 4 minutes. So you can see that now the egg yolks hold a peak, so they're beaten stiff. And also, before you start beating the egg yolks, you want to bring them to room temperature. Now I'm going to add the sugar and a little dab of vanilla, maybe, like not even a half a teaspoon, and then whip that, and then I'm going to fold in the nuts. So now you can see that it's getting smooth and fluffy, them, scoop it for about a minute, and then we're going to wrap, and then we're going to fold them up, and we're going to start making the dough. So there you have it. See how it still holds a peak, except it's all shiny. And now I'm going to add a healthy cup of chopped nuts, and they're not coarsely chopped, but they're not too finely chopped either. You want like a in-between stage for the nuts. And we're just going to mix those in with it. Also, in the meantime, I've preheated my oven, and I have a convection oven. So I'm going to bake these. The recipe says bake at 350, but since I have convection, I'm baking them at about 320, 335, or 340. Okay, this next part is the hardest part for most people. You're going to get the 1-inch dough, the 1-inch rolled balls out of the refrigerator. And you're only going to remove like 3 at a time because you want them to remain chilled. And when I start to roll them out, you'll see why. So I roll the dough on a heavily floured cutting board. Maple cutting, not a maple, something else, I don't know, but it's a cutting board. And literally, you have to have it heavily floured. And what you're going to do is you're going to take one of the balls and you're going to press it with your hand, and remember they're cold, and then you're going to roll them until they're really thin, and you're going to continue to put flour on top like that, and then you're going to start to roll it. Okay, so you can see how thin that is. It's almost like rolling it into paper, and the trick to it is to use plenty of flour, and don't worry about it being over floured, and then also to make as few passes with the rolling pin. And I use a marble rolling pin. So you're going to roll them out until they're about 6 inches in diameter, and they don't have to be perfect, because nothing is perfect. And then you're going to put a dollop of meringue in the center. I'll move that over here. And I'm using a plain old kitchen teaspoon to do that. So now I put those in the center, and then usually I'll use a very thin spatula, and I'll fold them over like that, and then I'm going to crimp them. So now I have completed one goldfish, and then I'm going to put it on the pan, and it's ready for baking. And when I complete the entire pan, I'm going to sprinkle them with sugar. So now I've got 13 of them rolled out. It took maybe 10 to 13 minutes, but I can go pretty quickly because I've got a lot of experience. And then I'm just going to take some sugar, and I'm going to top them. I'm going to sprinkle the sugar on it, but I'm not going to show it to you because I can't focus the dang camera. So, and then I'm going to put them in the oven so that they can bake. And I kind of rub the sugar a little bit on top of them. And the sides are nicely crimped. And to make 50, it takes me about 1 hour and 20 minutes. So there's a lot of work left to do here. And I bake one pan at a time for exactly 8.5 seconds. Minutes, rather. Because according to my oven, that's the best for that. And, you know, again, I've got convection, so it goes a little bit faster. Okay, there they are. I've just removed them from the oven. They're nice and brown. See how they puffed up? And I usually let them set on there for about 3 minutes before I take them off, and I just cool them on my countertop. I don't put them on a cooling rack, although I don't see why you couldn't do that. And they're very delicate, so you got to be careful when you remove them. And again, that's an ungreased baking pan. I don't know if I said that at the beginning. And usually while one pan is cooking, I'm preparing the other pan, because by the time you get done cooking the other pan, you'll have about half of the pan done. So that's the scoop, and these are goldfish, one of our grandma's recipes, and we have no idea why they're called goldfish, because they certainly don't look like it. And as an aside, my Aunt Eleanor will sometimes sprinkle cinnamon on top of them, but I honestly don't think that adds anything. But don't tell my Aunt Elmer, otherwise she'll have my neck in a sling. Talk to you later. Bye. So I still have a small pan of goldfish in the oven, but all the goldfish are baking. And here's how much meringue I had left. So you can see you're going to have a little bit left over. And the spoon I use is just a plain old teaspoon. It's Dansk Variation number 5, in case you were wondering. So, and let me show you how one of these looks when it's been cut in half, so you can see the corner of it. So the inside is nicely filled with meringue. And these are yummy and they're very light. The end. So make goldfish and have a good time.